Greetings, treasured friends. It is myself, Jonathan, also known as the PC Genie, and today I'm going to be doing another review, and that would be of this, which is the Hanwei single-hander, part of the Practical range. I've got a few others, so I'll be reviewing those too individually, because although they have similar characteristics in terms of how Hanwei do their Practical range more aimed at reenactors than people doing historical European martial arts, there are differences between the individual models, which I'll go through on the ones that I've got. To start with this single-hander that's supposed to be sort of mid to sort of late medieval period. As you can see, it's standard sort of cruciform, double-edged sword, wheel pommel, triple fullering, and anyone who knows me knows I like fullering on swords, but it's not bad, I must say. This is the second sword I've ever owned, which, by the way, is why it's gone quite rusty. It's not something that's exceptionally prone to rusting, and even does, well, from the one I had, does actually come with nice oil on it to keep it nice and protected. It's just that I have used this, and I have put it through some abusing and testing and, you know, sparring and whatnot, and it's taken quite the battering, to be honest. And that's one of the first things I should mention. So, as I say, apart from the fact that it's lasted quite long, this rusting, it's been polished and gained some sort of pitting and stuff, but I mean, it's been out in the rain included, so that's to be expected really with steel. But let's put that down for a minute. So since I've been using it so heavily and actually using against other steel swords in full contact sparring and letting other people borrow it for the same, it's gained nicks and things like that, which were easily smoothed over a bit of sandpaper. They never turn into anything nasty and too sharp. But despite all that, the hilt construction does actually remain very secure and sturdy, which might be quite surprising for something that's a bit more of a beater than, you know, a higher end type of sword. But yes, it's got, I don't know what sort of material this is, because it might be leather, but it does feel a bit sort of weird and hard. It might be because it's a thin material over the wooden handle, but one of the things that is good about the grip is it's got that ribbed type of texture, so it wants to stay nice and firm and secure on the hand, and it's very easy for a nice secure grip throughout any sparring or practice or whatever. But it is a bit uncomfortable on the hand sometimes, and it's certainly got the ergonomics. It sort of tapers, but it's not amazing quality, but you know, it'll do, especially for, again, a beater, a cheaper type of sword. And yeah, despite battering, the blade has also remained fairly straight. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try to get it close up. But I mean, overall, it's not, you know, deformed or bent nastily. And I've accidentally stabbed ground and had things like that done with this, and tested against the some sort of breastplate thing I had. And again, it's all remained fairly sturdy. I think I've heard of other people who've had certain swords of this kind that have broken, so I don't know exactly how the quality control is, but from my own personal experience, this has remained very rigid and sturdy throughout its entire lifetime, so in that respect I've got no complaints. One of my core complaints, apart from that the handle's a little bit sort of uncomfortable, is, I don't know, I mean, it's got the nice sort of weighting, you know, a few inches in front of the handle, just like you'd expect on these types of things, and it is a couple and a half pounds. I don't know the exact weight, but yeah, for some reason it doesn't quite feel so agile in a hand. I mean, when I first had it, it did seem like I was wondering if I was maybe not very strong, you know, same as when I took up archery and I noticed drawing a bow was quite a tough challenge. I thought maybe I just need to develop a sword arm, so to speak. But although I'm definitely better with it, and it is much more agile in my hands now with practice, it does still not feel quite as good as some of the other blades that I've handled. So yeah, what it makes up for in durability, it makes it ideal for reenactors. It does suffer in areas of perhaps closer to historical European martial arts, or indeed perhaps to some discerning reenactors, I don't know. But yeah, as I say, on paper it's supposed to be fairly well weighted and correctly designed, but it doesn't quite feel brilliant in the hand, I must say. But yeah, apart from that, here it is. Save some time. This is the sort of sheath, well, scabbard that it comes with. It's a nice sort of look on the outside. It was quite a tight fit. Now it's a lot more loose and rattly. Well, that's because, again, I've had it for years, drawn, sheathed, and normally even on loading screens in games, I just sort of grab it and just sway it about while I'm, you know, sort of doing whatever. And thus it's come a lot more loose, but it did last a fair while, I must say. One of my complaints is that it's a resin scabbard, so I mean, if you were someone like a reenactor or going for historical authenticity, ideally you'd probably want to get this replaced for maybe a leather sheath, or even have something like a belt frog, you know, to make it look right, because the sort of, even though you don't see the resin on the inside, even from the outside, it does have a sort of plasticky kind of look to it, and you can quite quickly tell that it's not a natural looking scabbard, so that is a disadvantage. But again, I mean, if you're after the performance of the sword, it might not be too much of a complaint, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. But yeah, apart from that, the price of it is around, when I last checked, it was, including tax, £162. Now, when I originally bought this a few years ago, I'd say 6 years ago, something like that, it was only £72. Now, I mention this explicitly because I have known that, I mean, at the time, it was quite good value for money. I mean, at about £72, it's, I'll say, a nice little beater, but now, I think they've increased the price due to the factory fire they had at Hanwei and various other factors like that. But it means that due to that sudden price hike, that's definitely a lot more than you'd have happening by inflation, it's, to be blunt, I don't really think it's good value for money anymore. You see, I mean, with this being, you know, including tax and non-including delivery, £162, I got another sword, which you'll see in another review, which wasn't much more than that. It was the Genie sword, which is much better quality, and again, that's covered in the other review I did of it. But that was only about £180-ish, so it was only a short distance between a beater like this and a really nice reproduction sword that's actually even based on one of the Oakshot typologies. So again, with these Hanweis, if I have to give a final verdict, bluntly speaking, if you pardon the reenactment edge related pun there, to be honest, it's not really something I'd recommend buying, because again, for only a little bit more, you can make a huge leap in quality, and I'd say for that difference, it's worth it. See you later.